Mm. Parehas. हेलो हेलो हेलो। हेलो 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 हेलो। दोनों रखेगा ये भी और वो भी।
We kindly request the students to take the seats as we are about to begin the session. Speech is 40%. We have an important announcement to make. In line with our commitment to a plastic-free HR summit, we have a drinking water facility kept right outside the hall for your convenience. We also kindly request the students to put their mobile on silent mode or switch off as we are about to begin the session. We kindly request the esteemed panelists to take the seats on the stage. A very good morning to one and all present here. I, Subhash Krishna,
And I, Sanya Arora,
of PGP Batch 2224, warmly welcome you to the day 2 of the 7th HR Summit. We hope you had an enriching experience yesterday. To begin with the day, we would like to invite Shri Girish Pahadia, Corporate Relations Officer, IIM Raipur, to share his thoughts on the day 1 of the 7th HR Summit.
Good morning, everyone. And I welcome all the distinguished guests, moderator, our chairperson placement, madam. I hope you guys have had, good breakfast. And of course, yesterday, the sessions were very enriching and very sure that you must have got, a lot of knowledge from that. Since we have, we are having these sessions for your knowledge and of course, enriching the knowledge in human resource aspect. One thing which, I would want to, I sincerely advise you is interacting with the panel members, because we have, yesterday 3 sessions were there and those were very enriching. And the number of questions or interactions which happened with the guests was lesser. So I would expect you guys to be, actually bombarding a lot of questions to them. Like our director Saab said, that whether, you want to be asking questions at the age of 60 or you would want to answer them at the age of 20. So please participate, interact with the panelists. They are, tremendous amount of experience, exposure in the corporate field. You would get benefited from their knowledge, their experience. on this formal level, informal level, because they have invited you yesterday also to interact with them. My suggestion, please participate, ask questions, and enjoy and enrich your knowledge here. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. We warmly welcome you all to the first panel discussion of the day on the topic, creating a seamless candidate experience, the role of the talent department. Under this topic, we aim not only to uncover the role of the talent department in creating a seamless candidate experience, but to inspire a collective commitment to making that experience truly exceptional. I would now like to take the privilege of introducing our esteemed panelists.
I'm honored to introduce our first panelist for the day, Shri Ashish Chandolia, Senior Director HR, Droom. Sir is a distinguished HR professional. Sir is a distinguished HR professional with an extensive 12-year journey in HR business partnering and analytics. His impactful career has spanned pivotal roles across esteemed organizations such as Droom, Infomind India, Indian Highways Management Company Limited, Shop Cluj, and Nextag. His repertoire includes spearheading recruitment endeavors and instituting robot HR processes, managing statutory compliance, and fostering employee engagement. So, we welcome you for the panel discussion today.
Our second guest of the day is Shri Kunal Chaudhary, Associate Director, Human Resources, Alvarez and Marcel. With a decade-long experience in campus recruitment and talent acquisition, Sir has made a significant contribution at Gartner, Nagarro, Mahindra Comviva, and Bain & Co. His strategic prowess is evident in initiatives like re-engineering internship programs, pioneering diversity hiring, and driving impressive outcomes. Sir, we welcome you to our panel discussion today.
Our third esteemed panelist for the day is Shri Yogesh R. Basol, Head HR, Crompton Greaves Consumer Electrics Limited. A results-driven HR leader with over 17 years of experience, Sir is adept at developing and implementing HR strategies aligned with business goals in dynamic environments. Currently, as a head HR at Crompton Greaves Consumer Electricals, managing end-to-end HR for the sales and marketing division, Sir has also had an experience at WorkHard, ITC Infotech, ITC Hotels, and Mahindra Mahindra. Sir, it's an honor to have you with us today for the panel discussion.
Our fourth distinguished panelist of the day is Shri Ravindra K, Founder, Director, People Search, Connectrack Info Solutions Private Limited. Sir is an alumnus of IIM Calcutta and a distinguished HR and business leader renowned for his expertise in talent consulting, executive search, and talent management across diverse industries. With an illustrious career, including roles as the director at Upgrade HR Consulting Private Limited and Connectrack Info Solutions Private Limited, he excels in strategic leadership hiring and performance management. He has made an impactful contribution at S&P Global Ratings, CRI SIL Limited, AXA, and HP Enterprises, displaying his global talent acquisition proficiency. Sir, we welcome you to our panel today.
I would now take the privilege to introduce the moderator for the discussion, Professor Ritu Gupta, Assistant Professor, HR and OB, and Chairperson of Executive and Learning Development Program, IIM Raipur. Ma'am is an accomplished academia with a decade of experience in this field. She held associate professor roles at TAPME and IBS Hyderabad earlier. Recognized for her research excellence, she has received awards like Outstanding Young Women Management Researcher. As a speaker in Netherlands and a visiting scholar at Oklahoma State University, she brings international exposure to the stage. Her impactful research, published in reputable journals, complements her teaching in HR analytics and talent acquisition. Certified in transactional analysis, FIROB, and HR analytics leadership, Dr. Gupta's dedication to expanding knowledge is evident. Ma'am, we welcome you to the panel discussion today.
We would now request Professor Ritu Gupta to welcome the panelists with a bouquet. Shri Ashish Chandolia. Shri Kunal Chaudhary. Shri Yogesh Arbasol. Shri Ravindra K. I would now request Professor Rashmi Shukla, Chairperson Placements, to welcome the moderator with a bouquet. I would now request Professor Ritu Gupta to take the panel discussion ahead.
Thank you. And welcome everybody. Sunday morning, did we have breakfast? Yes, all right. I don't know, sir, what were you talking about? They don't ask questions. I have had harrowing experience with some of them sitting here. So please, let's make sure that they go back with an experience where they know that we have good questions and we ask them. We don't just, think about them, then ask me later. No, I'm not answering any questions post this session about anything that happened here. Whatever doubts you may have, please clarify, right? Yes, are we good? All right. Who are candidates? We all are. All of us who are looking for a job. Yes, right? So we're talking about candidate experience. And I had an anecdote to share and begin with. Like you were sharing examples from a generation which I didn't understand. I have an example for them which probably they don't get. And, when I was looking for jobs as a young management graduate, there used to be these huge career pages forms that we had to fill out on the websites. Did I hear back from the company? Right? We did not. And today I see that companies are making it as easy as possible. So the gods of jobs, right? Or the power of jobs has been taken away from the job givers to the ones who are looking out for it. What changed? And why was I suffering? So what changed? What's the power shift here? If you can please help us understand what's driving your change. Like to go first? Yes.
Hi. So I'll just start. So I've been recruiting from last 15 years. So I think there is a change in the technology platforms a lot. So previously we used to do it, you can say on paper, we were giving a phone call. Now there are many digital platform coming up wherein we have lots of talent pool. Population has increased. Colleges have been increased and the distances, the technology has given us a smoother transactional platform wherein we can interact with a candidate, maybe Zoom call, Google Meet, we can search a CV, many databases are coming in, then AI thing is into the place right now. So that has made life very easy for the job finder. But somewhere we are just struggling out on the hiring side to find the right talent, right fit for the organization, for the exact looking profile for us.
I have a slightly different way to ask you. So yes, you have applied for this position, but would you know what you are applying for exactly?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes, right. Now, I think that's the sort of premise that we basically are coming from. I think as recruiters, I'm just using the very generic term called as recruiters, right? There is a expectation from the employer that yes, for each and every request that basically comes into the company, there is an expectation that there is a response being given, right? So it's just the kind of the number of applications, the kind of interactions, the number of interactions that typically happen with the HR teams are humongous. So what typically now is happening is there is something called a mandatory skill, right? So if you would now typically see some of the well-reputed organizations, right? So they will typically classify what is something called as mandatory, right? And the question is, would you still want to apply for that because you feel still confident about it? But so that's where the candidate experience is coming in from. See, you probably are left with a bad taste that people have not come back to you. But I would think that it's just physically not possible to respond to each and every applicant, and therefore there are ways to improvise that experience. And therefore they say, hey, have you met with the mandatory experiences that's been asked for? So then at least they have a absolute right to sort of respond to you. Otherwise, no. So that's the kind of but I think this is just a trend. This is the beginning of the trend that say, just because you applied, that doesn't mean that I should be wanting to respond. But again, if you are a right applicant, I do have to respond to you. Given that you meet the criteria, you definitely have to be responded. There's no two ways in that.
Okay. If either of you would not like to add, then I have an add-on question to that.
Please.
So we do talk about that, how we are never 100% fit to the job criteria or qualifications that are mentioned, and that's also where you lose a lot of talent, especially in diversity aspect of it. So, are you always looking for 100% fit in terms of how do we proceed further from here, or are there ways around it?
So when we look back, one reality was there was always a crunch for talent. The rules of the game have changed. We have entered into a gig economy. Earlier days, probably when we came into the industry, we were thinking about choosing a job, a dream job, so that we even spend decades there. So the mindset that time, the jobs and job seeker ratio was very different. If because of the gig economy, there is no such ratio that we talk about today. We knew which are the companies that we want to go. In campus, we used to get 10 companies when I passed out in 1998. So Tata's used to come, Birla's used to come there. And then we were looking at those companies, which were the industries they were presenting, manufacturing, largely automobile. What are the companies coming to the campus? They are data companies. I'm sure you are all looking at the data companies, the tech companies, data tech companies rather. And you see the number of tech companies which have come on the, in the economy today. The big five, you all know, that's driving the whole global economy: Facebook, Amazon. So there is a complete disruption that has already undergone. Now, in this age and with this background, how do I really look at assessing candidates? That was per se from the evaluation of a right fit. So right fit is a generic term, but what components go at that time went into a right fit? Is he a stable candidate? Okay, is he a willing worker? Does he have a degree qualification? Our job evaluation frameworks were such that for this role as a design engineer, you need to have MPhil, maybe a post-graduation, maybe a PhD. And if it is not, he's nowhere. He doesn't apply even for the job. Today, when we see, in fact, I don't see that whether that guy has a degree or not. So my right fit is not by his degree, is by his learning agility. I would not see people may have very fancy degrees, the pedigrees that we call. right? And in fact, my interaction with all the guys I met, I was not looking at, because everybody is filtered out in the same filter and come here. So I was looking at, Avik asked me, what are you, how do you find the students? I said, I have not interacted with them. But what I am seeing is how much human touch that they have, because you are trying to bring about the future leaders. Okay. So what I'm looking at in a right fit, is he with a big, maybe not a fixed mindset. Most of the people in fixed mindset don't thrive, they survive. So I look for people with a cognitive flexibility as one dimension, and largely is a learning agility. And learning agility don't come by studying in university alone. That may accelerate, but not guarantee you a learning agility. And one of the questions, one of the point the professor said, why are we not asking questions? We are not asking questions because we are not curious. If you look at your vision, how many of you really remember the vision? You can tell me, what is the vision of IIM Raipur? The ethos of inquiry, consciousness, innovation. So even your vision is all about inquiry, consciousness, being aware. Consciousness is being aware of what's happening around you and being perceptive and innovative. How you are, if you are not innovative, that means for all this, what one competency requires is learning agility. And learning agility comes back below, which is curiosity and passion to create something new. So this is the two things I would see when I look for a candidate, not his degrees, not his past performance. Past laurels are good. Tomorrow, I require a set of openness. I require a curious mind. I require a person who is focused with this purpose in mind. Thank you.
Kunal, would you like to add, or should we? No, all right. So I also feel that a lot has to do with the value has changed and how the candidates' experience and expectations have changed from the companies, and that is also leading to the change in behavior from the corporate side. What are some of the things in terms of their expectations have you changed over the years, considering you all have put together long decades of experience? So what all changes have you made for generations, and where do you see this is headed?
In terms of the candidate experience, what I feel, and especially when I represent consulting is a lot about personalization, human touch, right? Also, when we get people into the process, it is also about how do we stay with them together till the time an offer is made, which means that we just don't go to a campus and do a PPT and then share the shortlist and then go and do interviews. Our process in consulting is very, very elaborate. And we ensure that we have multiple touch points from the firm who can kind of interact with them. That also gives them a flavor of what our culture of mentorship is all about. Taking a small instance to probably illustrate what I just said, in consulting, we have these concepts of buddy allocation before the interview process, which means that every consultant from the firm will be tagged to 2 to 3 shortlisted people, and is supposed to run that buddy program for 1 month. Now, what happens is that during those buddy program, people are coached on the effective ways of problem solving. While they learn it a lot in the campus, but getting that outsider view also kind of helps them. As a result of which, what happens is that they are more prepared for the interview, and they know what they are actually signing up for. We also have a concept of leadership dinner, where our partners, senior level partners, engage with the shortlisted people before the interview process. Consulting is very diverse, so we just don't need people who are problem solvers, but people who can navigate any situation, talk about any abstract topics for that matter. And during that leadership dinner, what happens is that when the partner engages you on a conversation probably, he or she is not actually testing you on your problem solving mindset. He or she is probably testing you on how much knowledge do you carry in other aspects, which is outside consulting. Can you talk about sports? Can you talk about fitness? Can you talk about music? And that is what we need. We need well-rounded professionals who can really survive in our kind of a setup. So that actually helps in the decision-making process.
Thank you. So in terms of expectation change, what's driving you to change? Any one of you would like to add, or should we move? Yeah. So what all expectation changes have you felt over the years in these decades, past few decades, which have made you change certain practices? That, okay, now I need to be more conscious of this touch point and I need to, reevaluate myself.
Yeah, so what we have made changes, we have introduced AI engine where we definitely a lot of, the recruitment is all largely driven with robotic interviews and a lot of other stuff where AI engine is driving in parsing and doing, to the candidate CV finalization process. So till date, we tried certain things like even having a robotic interview to screen the initial levels, get the 3 best profiles to the physical interface interview. So we did that so that we are able to give elaborate time on the interview. Otherwise, doing 10 candidates for one interview means it's a disproportionate waste of time. And you are not giving quality time in assessment of the right candidate. Because then you are giving 30 minutes for an interview for doing 10 candidates. So now we tried that. Somewhere it's working, somewhere it's not working, but that's the way forward. So we get 3 profiles and we have introduced a psychometric which filters out, which is also AI based, and which filters out candidates. And there is a robotic interview that gets done after that. And both in that robotic interview also, it is based on certain algorithm which assesses those nuances which generally maybe the confirmation biases what people bring to. So such elements and fluidic intelligence is that what we are also looking at it. And then we spend this good amount of time and a panel with those 3 candidates. So now we are able to have a 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, if a good candidate, that kind of a time that this is at a leadership level. This is at CEO -2 or 3 level and up, because that's very critical. They are holding a large team. If you get a wrong person, manager in a team is holding a big team, you have a big attrition. And therefore, we are really serious about it when we look at lateral hiring here. At a campus level, of course, things is obviously we go to the campuses, we do the presentations, and we probably what we have changed as we are rather than we are looking at having more and more interns coming into the camp, coming into our environment, working with us. And then from them, we do a selection rather than go and en masse hire, because we don't have a big number to hire in the campus. So 20-25 numbers a year, if we look at it, and some numbers in sales, we would like to get them into our environment, and we get a good opportunity to assess them better. So that is where we will read. Otherwise, I have also seen that a lot of attrition is happening when we go to management trainee program. At end of 3 years, there are 10% staying behind, and so that is another creep. So how do we solve that? Is that it's all in our hiring. It's all what goes in evaluating. And do we really give enough opportunity for either side, the organization and the candidate, to know each other better? So I think it's a love marriage is better or an arranged marriage is better, that I don't know. But love probably have more longevity. I suppose so. So that is all. Thank you.
All right.
Would you like to?
Yes, I just want to make this point that, see, I think, the way you started this discussion as well. So you mentioned about your application.
Yeah.
Can I just want to stay there so that I want to just build on.
Yes.
See, what's happening is there is a lot of focus on getting the right candidates into the system, into
Right.
the evaluation process.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of tools, a lot of, I would say, gates, if I can call it as, right, being used so that the amount of time being spent with the right set of candidates is higher,
Hmm.
rather than losing time on whatever, spending time on more number of people. I think, as he was also mentioning, the final three, right? So how do you reach to that three is the essence of the entire hiring process. And I've seen a number of ways to basically fine tune that process.
Hmm.
Like we would have, for example, even in the campus, I mean, at least my experience of working with CRISIL, S&P
Yes.
owned company. So I was with them for close to 7-8 years. So one of the things that we've done, especially in the campus hiring process, is that we did have a very standard format of, I would say, evaluation process. Okay. But it didn't mean that we got to stick to only those 4.
Hmm.
Right? If suppose we find little more number of candidates, coming up to that stage, we were ready to basically use even a case study, but that's then and there, right? So the way things are moving, at least in this space, so that candidates are having better experience, is to fine tune the sourcing, right?
Yes.
Fine tune the sourcing bit and spend a lot of time engaging with the final set of candidates. That's what I think.
I should probably add at this stage that what I wanted to talk about was those long, lengthy forms which used to be on the career pages, where the companies would not respond earlier because they were not even tapping into that data. And how Ashish mentioned that some of the AI tools today allow you to analyze. I mean, Google has some 5,000 applications per day based on the career pages alone. Forget about lateral hiring. So how organizations actually did not focus on that data which used to come in voluntarily versus to now having tools to analyze their data much more quickly. Probably the point I wanted to put forward, not about, so responsiveness, those long surveys, it's like done with, we don't talk about those long forms anymore. So moving on from that, taking cue from that, what are some of these AI tools that you're seeing? You talked about robotics and how that is a part of some of your assessments. What are some of these tools which are enhancing experience? And to be very honest, you were talking about human touch at one point, and you're talking about robotics being a part. So what kind of a marriage is this?
See, we always look into the future and design things, right? So what was there in the past, some part is there, but largely we are looking at efficiency. We are looking at being more further competitive, and also a strong brand that we require to attract. And, in creating that brand value proposition for the candidates, you really require an experience which is important for them to get engaged, and conversion ratio that happens once they are first touch point and they translate into a candidate to an employee of the organization. So it's actually it requires a different rigor today, because talent war is still on, and it will be always on. So now introducing automation is important. So technology, I called it, is, we should not love technology and use people, but we should use what? Technology and still love people. What has happened is we are loving too much of technology. And I don't think that is going to lead us anywhere to a brighter future. So how do we bring about a balance of this? So technology is to be enabled. And how do we enable that for a better experience? End of the day, we have moved from a commodity age, right? Everything is available. You don't require Tatas to make or General Motors to make cars for you. Google's have better cars for you. Or Apple will make a better car for you, right? So there is no core competence age is anymore. It's more about collaboration. So whole, the tectonic plates of the way business is being done, the expectation of consumers at a larger platform. And we are a global stage, obviously. Now we can, few days later, we can put shops on the moon, probably get prepared for that. And for that, you don't require a automobile, you require a rocket to put your products, transport, supply chain there. So everything is changing. I'm just trying to open your minds to that possibility even. Space tourism is already on. So in this age, we definitely have to have technology, right? But how do you manage this? Today, the maturity of the algorithms, largely the deficit of data. That is holding you back. Why did Amazon do all these big 5 companies are doing better? Today we call your cash is not the wealth.
Data.
It is your data, which is, and without you knowing certain algorithms where you are onto some apps or platforms, it's capturing your data without your knowledge and selling you things. So how do you use that technology, that mindset, that kind of an algorithm, even to capture what are those candidates available in the market and get them, pull them in a which right away. If Ravi, I know, is a candidate for me, what will be a better way of attracting, what personalization I can create for his experience to attract him and make him work for us. So there are huge challenges in front of us. We have limited resources in terms of time, bandwidth of leadership or interviewers. So we need to be very judicious about using technology, but there is no substitute for high touch.
High touch. Any of the tools that you would like to share, Ashish?
So we are not using AI tool as if for now, but as my friend already told, if you are hiring for a senior person, we need to have a human touch and we need to screen him down because he will be managing last team. Otherwise, we'll be facing attrition. What has worked with us in last 5-7 years of the organization is we generally go for a lot of internship hiring in our organization, wherein you come to know what's the organization all about, what product we are building in. Are you that interested or that tech savvy working in that 24/7 environment? If you fit in our product, our life cycle, our culture, so it's a win-win situation. And we have hired people from campuses, fresh hires who were interning with us, and then they gradually graduated, and then from starting as a fresher, they spend like 3, 4, 5 years with us and to become a group product manager or maybe a senior product manager with us. And a lot of new product and features were introduced by them. And for junior people, or for, you can say, mid-level people, we have a 2x2 metrics. So you should always be a learner. You should be agile. You should be asking questions. I think nobody would refuse to answer your queries. So 2x2 metrics, what I'm saying is, if you are fitting in the role and you have good knowledge and you are passing all the questions and everything, we'll be selecting you. If you are a flexible person, you are a learner, you have done a lot of things, but you're not fitting in the role, we'll still hire you because you are still trainable, because you are accepting what we are trying to teach you. If you are available and if you are doing to do so, we are able to train you. Any organization would. For the junior and mid-level, I think they are available to train people unless you are able to accept all those training, development, and knowledge with you.
Thank you. Moving on to the next one, I found this interesting statistic on one of the consulting reports by Mercer, who said post an interview, 72% people today are more open to sharing their thoughts with the people online and letting the world know what their experience was, mostly bad. And 9% of them advise others boycott the product, right? And they boycott Snapchat, and what happens is Snapdeal gets boycotted, right? Those kind of instances are also becoming common. So are we working towards, or one of the objectives of having this candidate experience is so that they don't go back and troll us? Is that also something that is driving us?
Not really. I think as a recruiter, I would never be worried about trolling, to be very honest. Why? Because I would always believe in the philosophy of do the right things and do not compromise on your values. Right? We have instances in the past where people go and badmouth us in the class tour. We have instances where people send random emails to your leadership quoting us that we did not probably give them a good experience. So this will continue to happen. And I think, like I said, we should continue to do the right thing that is needed at that time. The other thing which we also have faced is, and it is not trolling, and I was chatting with somebody yesterday, is that we do also get a lot of influential calls from Prime Minister's office, where there's a pressure of, selecting the candidate who is appearing in the process. And honestly, it's too much for probably for me to handle. It's beyond my paycheck as well, right? I don't know how to navigate such situations. So in those cases, we have included our administrative team who have local contacts, can help us get through those situations, right? And in case if it is still unmanageable, we have our senior leadership to include and navigate. But the short answer is that none of us are scared of trolling. There are good recruiters, there are not so good recruiters, and that's how it is. Let's accept it.
Would you like to add? Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add there. See, there is no choice for company to do any other thing but to basically work on that feedback. There is no choice. As he rightly said, as a recruiter, I would definitely agree that I am very happy to hear the feedback. But yes, it's not always good. Okay, especially the people who sort of are eliminated out of the process, they feel negated, they feel negativity, spiraling into their minds. And then, so just not about his or her experience working with me, dealing with me, but all about the company and the entire set of people. So there's no two ways about it, that I have to pick up that feedback and really start focusing on this choice.
Thank you. One of the examples which kept repetitively coming up in what is a good experience is that how at least today, let the candidate know where their application status is. So one of the things which is very easy to implement through ATS applicant tracking systems is rejection letters. Let them know. And this is something that I've heard from the class, from the students in the last 3 years, is not only rejection letters, but please tell us how did we do? Where did we go wrong? Do you think in near future, thanks to technology and all the products which are coming in, we will reach that stage where we will not only let them know, sorry, you did not make it, but sorry, you did not make it because of this. Is that something you?
I would say what I personally do here, and I could not advocate it to larger set of people or influence other leaders in my company, but I personally do as my personal value system and my duty towards the candidate who has taken so much of invested his time, money to reach out to me on this. So I see him as a consumer, as a customer on my campus. Okay. And I would like to, if we go back to this, because fundamental corrections should be done, right? Otherwise, our fundamental value is wrong, our design going to wrong, the experience is going to be wrong. Creating a seamless candidate experience, the role of the talent department. Above that that's fine. That's our objective of today. But optimizing human resource potential in hybrid decade. That's the fancy name. Decade has become a decade because it's about technology decade. Okay, so that's fantastic. I have an objection with the word human resource. Why? Because it's all about an experience. If Britishers always treated Indians as the means for exploiting India, when, I was sharing with Avik when we had a morning walk today, they came with the purpose to loot the country. When they came, India's GDP was close to around 30% of the world's GDP. When they left, it was around less than 2%. If that is the mindset, and with that mindset as an employer, we look at candidates, or we look at even human as a resource, I don't think that's the right thing. I don't see people as resource. And then you can never have. Therefore, I said touch technology, high touch is important. High tech is also important, but we should use technology and love people. But when we look people as resources, we don't love them. Please ask this question, introspect and reflect. You will be the future employers or future HR marketeers and marketing people. I think you want to make a career in marketing. So long we look as consumers to be exploited, you will never give them a sustainable value. Okay, and we are talking about sustainability after COVID, especially more. So I think fundamentally we need to look at, and your own vision statement of the institution is consciousness, is about innovation, is about inquiry, and in your mission is about research, right? So fundamental altering of the mindset is very important. And now I'll answer the question because you will be understanding my answer to that question. When the candidate comes to me, I spend 5 minutes telling him how you are not fit also. I mean, there is a way of saying it. I don't say flatly, you are not selected. I would spend this 5 minutes genuinely with those candidates so that, and I give this example to them. And please keep this example with you. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, he wanted to become a fighter pilot. And you know the background where he comes from. Very, very, underprivileged kind of society that he comes from. So he had to go to Dehradun for the IMA fighter pilot Air Force selection those days. So somehow he managed a ticket, a passage money for going from Rameshwaram to Dehradun, where there is Indian Institute of Military Academy. So he could not clear the test because of his physical endurance, etc., not about his intelligence. Okay. He was rejected. And I tell this story to them. And he was on his way back. He had no money to go back because by this time he has used the best savings to reach out to there, and he was hopeful that he will get through. So he had a thought in mind, how do I go back and what do I do next? So he was feeling very depressed. Somehow he came to Rishikesh down, and he was against the cliff, near to the cliff, and he wanted to suicide. From behind came Swami Shivananda, and he held him back. And he asked him a question. What are you trying to do? He inspired him. Being born human itself is superb. He said, no, I'm lost. I don't have anything to do. He said one line to him, and that made APJ Kalam to Dr. Kalam. He said, something big is waiting for you. Therefore, you are not selected for this. Now, this is what I call high touch. What happened to Dr. Kalam? You all know that. He is the missile man of India. What he did to India, we have Chandrayaan-3 landing successfully where nobody could able to achieve that feat, correct? So, therefore, I say human is not the resource, it's a possibility. If you look at a human resource, human as a resource, we box him. It's like capital, infrastructure. There is one technology. And this is what I call high touch. Thank you.
Right. Probably if any other, or we'll have last question from me and then we'll open it up for the audience.
As you already told, like technology will be there, but I think human touch is very important. You may also search. A Harvard study says that 88% HR has said that AI and technology has rejected a very good and fit candidate that could have been hired.
Oh.
So the human touch will always be there, be whatever technology or whatever platform we are using.
So any last question from my side, and then we'll open it for any wow experience examples, anything that you implemented or anything which you've seen in some other company getting implemented and you're like, yes, this is something that we would like to take forward. Maybe Raveen, you can, any examples?
See,
You will-
I think there are a number of examples. So at least I can tell you from my own experience that I've been involved with preparing people, candidates for the interviews, right? I remember, my days with HCL Technologies. So what they used to do is first hire them in the India payroll, right? And they used to do business in the US. It's like sort of body shopping kind of a thing. But otherwise, they used to deploy them internally here. And depending upon their interest, they used to process H1s. So as part of the entire exercise, as and when they basically get opportunities at on-site, right? So there's a job there for somebody exactly fitting this kind of a candidate. What they used to do is to prepare them for the interviews. So the client can ask any kind of a question. So in a way, my real intrigue really started there. So what kind of a questions? How do we, make a selection definitely possible out of this interaction? Yeah, it's very, very different algorithm, honestly, right? I feel very excited about, this particular space, thanks to the opportunity that I got through HCL Technologies at the early start of my career. So I've seen this, that candidates might not necessarily be able to put across the right content relevant for that job at times, right? But we as recruiters would have actually come across that value, maybe through the kind of informal interactions or the pre-interview interactions, and then we definitely position the candidate back to the hiring manager. So we've done this kind of exercise a number of times. I also see a lot of value in telling the candidates in terms of who are they about to meet or who they're going to meet. So I'm sure each of you would be having your own, points in time where you would be actually going through these interview phases. So it's at least the basic sanity check that one would expect is to see what kind of a person are you going to meet up with, right? It makes so much of difference. See where he's coming in from, what kind of a background he or she has. So it just gives you a little more information about the person, and therefore your ability to connect, will be a little more confident. Again, so that's the only thing. So that part, I mean, candidate touch point is very, very important, especially at the mid to senior level, that we've seen, a huge difference it makes.
Right.
And again, we also, when we talk to the hiring managers, so there is a role that the HR definitely plays.
Right.
See, the business managers at times would not be completely aware about the market situation, right? And at times, we try to bridge that gap, saying that, hey, this is what is available, right? You may have to pick up something called a near fit, so so you are just 80% of the kind of a resources available, so that 20% don't look for 100% ideal candidate. So at times, we basically discuss it out, give data to the hiring manager, and basically tell this is what you should do, and then train for the balance, which is not being found in the candidate. So these things we have done, and we also have looked at the screening questions. I think we talked about the screening questions. So again, it's a AI based screening questions that you can customize it to each and every role depending upon the job description document, etc. I see that from a perspective of candidates, the way they need to basically look at when applying for a job is also to see that the job description documents that typically you see some kind of keywords that are present in that job description document. Does your profile, say a LinkedIn profile, does your resume carry those words? You being interested in applying for a role is important, but do you also made a note of those kind of key skills that they're asking for, and are they being reflected either in your LinkedIn or your resume? So I think there's a bit of a matching that you need to do at that stage as well.
So role level, letting them know the questions kind of that this is where, and that is, if that can happen, right? I mean, then it's up to the candidate whether the candidate comes prepared or not. And
Absolutely.
you have done you are facilitating the process.
Absolutely.
An appreciable initiative. I've seen Google do that for different roles, even at intern level. They send out the questions. If you're prepared with this, come. Otherwise, let it be.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Any other experiences? Any other wow experiences that you have come across as an initiative you took or somebody else took?
I have been personally wowed by Amazon's interview experience, which is a loop interview, which essentially tests the candidates on their 14 leadership principles. And why is it important? Because as a candidate, if you do not resonate with those values, probably you are not the right fit. So there are things like customer obsession, frugality, bias for action, and so on, right? And along all these values, they have situational based questions. Have you personally been through those situations? And if you have been through the situations, could you give some examples? How did you navigate through those situations? And I have seen those. How do they do is that out of those 14 principles, they will distribute this amongst the 6 panelists. And it's a loop interview. They will not eliminate you during the process. Post the 6 rounds of interview, they do a moderation meeting for each candidates that they have interviewed and then take the final call. And the good thing is that post the interview, the recruiter will come back and always tell you where did you do well and where you did not do well. Yeah, that is the kind of effort that they make, at least in the HR hiring, is what I have personally witnessed. Unfortunately, I could not make it, but the good thing is that I really appreciated the process.
The same question, that feedback, it was looped into the process
Yes.
itself. So amazing. Thank you for sharing. Any other wow experiences you have implemented or heard or seen?
So we hire a lot of people for sales because the churn is maximum. As you know, most of the FMCG consumer durable companies are more sales driven. So to bring about quality of hire, and obviously people who we assess well and meet the expectations in the beginning, they will stay with us for a longer time and they will deliver value and not create organizational resource drain. So what we had this big problem happening. Attritions were hovering over 30% quarter on quarter, and it has become a trend. So attrition means 30-35%. But if you really look at the amount of bandwidth getting choked for, our managerial bandwidth is spent on hiring people rather than delivering to customer. So when we looked at it, we thought we should do something little different. I was sharing with Mr. Sharma yesterday in the car. So we introduced one, which I said in earlier point as well. We said we don't want to assess people on all the parameters, because then there are various stages of the journey of selection that's happened. So we should look at what's non-negotiable should be assessed at the first instance without human intervention, like my HR team or somebody getting into it. We should assess that. If that is met, we should get into the environment and the journey forward. So what we said, what is non-negotiable to us is, I may use a word VUCA here, but that is how we are living in the life today. What is the one differentiating competency? One is definitely the learning agility that we do through Korn Ferry assessments, etc. And there is a very elaborate learning agility, 5 parameters on which they do it. We do it for leadership. We can't do it for our mass hiring in sales, but something as a substitute to that. We got a nice tool called FIT. And FIT is on Dr. Gartner's multiple intelligence framework from Harvard. So I have co-created this along with one of my friend, Dr. Sandhu from Pune. He has done a lot of M&A in the Europe, in US. And then he was, during this process, he mastered this. And then I also found it's very relevant to us. So what is this about? It's about fluidic intelligence. So when I was meeting everyone, I was just looking at, Avik asked me, so what is that you are looking at? I'm looking at fluidic intelligence in people. But how do I do this as a non-negotiable for me? Is this FIT tool, which is you give online and it sees whether it is proctoring you so well. And I've rejected a lot of candidates when they see I'm calling X and Y is appearing for that test. So we have rejected that. So the wrong person got identified, etc. So this was an important parameter. Earlier, we were giving other tools like Hogan, but they did not capture who is giving the test. I can ask my wife to give the test because she's good in certain things. And, and you are fooling the person, the employer. So we are taking a wrong test. So this particular tool, which cost me 500, 600 rupees, it actually I rejected an HR guy, was very critical to me. We were very nice. He actually impressed all of us so much into an interview. And my executive HR came, sir, आपने इसका FIT tool देखा क्या? I said, क्या है fluidic intelligence? Sir, उसका तो 98% है. मैंने ये हो नहीं सकता. 98% is too high as a fluidic intelligence. मेरा तो आप देखो किसका मिला था पहले? Everybody is hovering 50, 60, 70. 98 means it should be beyond genius. ऐसे कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. Okay, but होगा. I mean, मेरे data set में 98% was not there. But then we probed. Said go through the tool. We went through the report, and this was a lady who was a candidate I have hired for HR, and there was a man who was in the picture. And this is a robbery. And an HR person I'm hiring as manager who is supposed to be custodian of values, integrity, empathy, and the person here is, I said no, and there was pressure in this very critical phase of VUCA time, COVID time. We said no, yaar, we can't go this. I know we have high attrition, there is high pressure, but we can't take this person. Another 3 months I have to waste. But you see, one such person would have come into the system, would have spoiled the whole game. And fluidic intelligence is a good predictor of performance of people in stress. In ambiguous situation, they deliver better. And who has a high EQ? Who can take stress? Who can forge clarity in ambiguity? That's a short definition of fluidic intelligence. So that is indispensable for me. Thank you.
Got it. So again, giving questions, the feedback looped in, fluidic intelligence is important for you. Any such experience, Ashish, which you have seen implemented at your organization, for which you say that, yes, this is something worth having done?
So, it was like some 10 years back. So we were not using that much technology, but as he gave his example, so I was with Nextech Software. So we were hiring for a profile for Spanish language. So the interviews were to be done from the US and France team sitting over there. But generally at that time, we were not using Google Meet or who person or what is the same person getting interviewed. So I got a feedback. We were interviewing for the Spanish person. A person was from the Indian University, and the spoke was sitting in the UK office. So the feedback came very great. Oh, we love the candidate, the Spanish language, the fluency, the understanding, because the person has down the line to work in India office on Spanish website. Now what happened is we offered him because nobody knew Spanish at that time. So we hired him, and then we gave him the Spanish website to work on. And then he was totally blank. So we just checked like what went wrong. The feedback is so great. We were only hiring like 2 people who were interviewing out of 10. Then what happened is he did not interview for the Spanish language. Somebody else gave the interview in the Spanish language, and it was his senior. Then we have to just rectify the things. Okay, what we should do, not to go for a job thing or not to terminate the services. So we put him in the US or UK process in the English website, and then hired for another person. But now technology being there, or Google Meet being there, or you can just speak to the person again and again, those kind of things can be resolved right now.
Again, I can't resist asking more questions. Should I carry on or do you guys want the mic now? I'm not hearing an answer. So I'll continue or you guys have more questions than I do? Yeah, you do? Yes. Okay. Should we move to them and I'll pick your brains till later? Yeah. All right. Okay. If we can please pass around the mics. Or else I can always start back again, right?
Good morning, esteemed panelists. I'm Robin Moria of PG Batch 2325. My question is, as values and objectives of candidates have changed and evolved over the years, what are some characteristics that are not common anymore, or that you wish we as young talents should collectively focus on more?
Values are, I think, universal. Certain values, I mean, values could be a stack of huge list, but fundamental values remain same when we talk about wherever as human being, you are as an employee or a consumer. So we are here for serving humanity. So certain values don't change, irrespective, they are eternal values. So I'm not going to touch upon that. They will never change and they should not undergo a change. What have changed in terms of expectations, right? What we expected 2 decades back and now and in future, that expectation part have got changed. So a value, for example, giving the best to our customer will never change. It was then 100 years back and will always stay there, right? So that value will not change. So in terms of candidate who can create organizational value, definitely for that he brings about skills which are much superior, differentiated skills, knowledge, right? As Kunal was saying, they do the fireside with their new joinees, with senior leadership to figure out what else they do besides the job. So this particular dimension of having a diverse view, that definitely is a new value that a candidate should bring. It's not only the functional, but diverse, because we are talking about fungibility. And there is no verticalization of jobs today. Earlier, you joined as an engineer and in the same department as a production head, you may retire. Today, there are no jobs defined. There's a lot of flexibility across moving roles, across functions and all. So we definitely look at one competency, or you may call as an expectation, that is openness and learning agility, but no tampering with values. So I'm not mixing the word value and expectation. Value is value, always remains the same. You in India and in America, if you really look at it, everybody loves the customer, or their purpose of business is the customer. So whether it is a geography, it is a civilization, it is a decade back or decade ahead, value will not change. And if value is changing, then it is not value.
Would you mind just repeating your question once again?
Sure, sir. So my question was, as values and objectives of candidates have changed and evolved over the years, what are some characteristics that are not common anymore or that have been lost that you wish we as young talents should collectively focus on?
Okay, if I could just say that, and probably if we can imbibe virtue of patience a little bit, that would be really great, because as I see the new workforce today, I think everything is very milestone driven for them. And I'm not, don't take it personally on yourself, but everything is very milestone driven. And the moment they don't reach that milestone, it makes them very upset. So if you could just kind of, as you go through these 2 years of rigorous intensive course, please try and instill a little bit virtue of patience that will really help you succeed in the corporates. Always remember that career is not a sprint meeting, it is a marathon of 40 years. And if you can wait, good things will happen.
Thanks, sir.
I saw lady raise her hand here earlier and said, yes, yeah. If you could please bring the mic here. What about that side? No question. Yeah, we have. So we'll come back. So we'll do two here and then we're coming on that side.
A very warm good morning to all of you. I'm Miracle Rindani from PGP batch 23-25. And my question is, you guys shared the experience of some of the wow factors of hiring experiences that you saw or you incorporated in your offices. I would want to ask, what are some of the practices in the, if I may put it like pre-AI era, that you would want to revive? Because they were they looked at some of the values of the candidates that maybe AI is not able to capture well.
Pre-AI era, what is it that you would like to bring back from yesteryears?
So AI, sorry, if you want to, Ravi, AI is enabling. It is not mutually exclusive of the past. Past, we talk about AI as an automation tool. AI is not a separate animal. Okay, it's not standing substitute to human beings. It is to enable a better experience. We are right. So earlier days, if you have to transport yourself, you use bullock carts. Today you are using aeroplanes. Correct. So, but purpose have not changed. Whether it was a bullock cart or an aeroplane, the purpose is transportation. Only the efficiency with technology and exploitation, that what we have done it little better for our own purpose of living. So AI, that is what I said about balance. AI is enabling. In your somewhere you have mentioned that it's a seamless experience that you want to create, and at a best minimum cost, maximum value, you want to create that. And therefore we should use technology as much as to create that experience. So I don't call that, where it would lead us in future, that I don't know. I don't want to get into that. But AI is definitely probably a substitute to many things which we are probably exploiting. AI can help us it better. And going forward, I think it is not the problem with technology. It is problem with people. They will probably by default get into that, like with our mobile phones. There is one statistics which was the span of attention, how it was when we did not have mobile phones. It was about some 15 seconds was the span of attention. As Kunal said, be little more patient. Okay. Why is he saying that? Because technology abuse. Okay. But with proper judicious use, it is an enablement. Now, the span of attention of human being average, okay, this is average number globally, is below the span of attention of a starfish. How small the starfish is, right? You know starfish, right? You may be consuming it as a delicacy. So our span of attention has gone below that, which is 7 seconds. And this is not good. And that is why we are talking about high touch. And how do you create an experience if our span of attention, if I'm not listening to my candidate, even the interviews are not happening better then. So there are two, this is a paradox I'm sharing. It is an enablement and we should have this enablement. So there is nothing to go back and do something else, because then we are going in the bullock cart age. So this distinction is very important. The misuse and abuse that we are doing about it, and we should stop. And therefore the locus of control has to be here, not on the technology. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other thoughts on the matter? Pre-AI era? Or you agree?
Yeah, see, I only want to say there is nothing called a pre-AI era because it's a evolution. Okay, we are moving from a place where we could automate some of the things that were probably taking away more of our productivity, and to help enable productivity is what we are using AI as a tool. Okay, now maybe there are course corrections, if I can say that, right? As part of the deployment of AI into, say, the selection process, we probably would have done some mistakes. Say, for example, if I would have designed a test, say, for a campus recruitment test, right? So maybe I would have just made that test, which is a common for each and every role, though there are maybe differences in terms of the actual performance metrics, right? So how do I basically customize that, and how do I make it relevant for that particular job and not to basically use it as a generic selection tool? So that I would think that there is scope for iteration, scope for course correction. And again, as he was mentioning, so there is nothing like AI is going to be the all in and all for all kinds. It has to be a tool which is going to be helping in the selection, or rather eliminating the kind of a candidates, but not the final selection process. So that's my take.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
We
you so
had a
much.
hand up here. And then we will, so I think first we'll go there and then we'll come back to you. Buddy, hello, hi. If we could please give it to him.
Good morning, esteemed panelists. I am Divyam Agarwal from PGP Batch 2025. So in this era, we have seen a great rise in the gig economy. And one of the major important points of the company is employee satisfaction and employee loyalty. So in the era where people can change companies like just changing their shirts and pants like that, so how are companies going to make sure that the employee satisfaction and employee loyalty doesn't change?
Okay, so in the age of fast food, you're asking to go back home and have home food. Swiggy is serving you food, that is gig economy. Okay, even the grocery which is coming to your home is through gig economy. Okay, so there is a situation where you are working for an employer in the morning, another one in the afternoon. If you have energy and you have passion and ambition, you are working for the third employer in the third half of the day. Correct? So now, let me tell you about the telecom industry. You know, I will look at inspirations outside. Earlier days, there were towers for telecom. Companies used to have their own towers, correct? The infrastructure through which your connectivity happens. Now, time has come that they are sharing their towers. Maruti and Toyota, they are manufacturing cars. One is Hyryder and one another Discover or whatever car is there, Maruti's car. They are making in the same factory. Okay. And they said same set of people are manufacturing two different brands. You see where the world is getting adrift. Okay. Now, with that drift which is happening, which is driving everything, you should also change certain things within yourself, not you as employers. What you should change, the dimensions of loyalty. You are talking about, how many of you here, I have changed around 8-9 companies in 24 years of my experience. 17 was a wrong number. I have not updated my LinkedIn because I am not so much there. Okay. So I am already 23 plus experience. So I have more than 8 companies I have changed. Right. So how do you define loyalty? So loyalty is, while I am in the morning with my employer one, am I delivering value to my consumer? Is my loyalty. Period. So if you change the definition as the world is evolving, because the economy of scale has to be achieved. You never heard of Maruti manufacturing Toyota. They were competitors. Like you say, Russia and India are making a project to land Chandrayaan kind of thing, 4th to moon. That is still okay. If China and India are making to launch it on the moon. That could be possible in geopolitics, which is on the drive. People are doing all the kind of things. You are enemy with a friend or with the same nation at the same time. It is situational. So all those definition will also undergo a change of loyalty. What was the other point what you mentioned? Loyalty and how do we measure? So satisfaction is subjective. Satisfaction is not happening outside. Okay, it's your experience. So your satisfaction is based on your experience. While you are, and now you have a very good set of 3 employers creating a experience for you. Now propensity for you to work towards that employer more who gives you better pay, okay, better comfort on process and something more, right? That is one for and the satisfaction is subjective to you. How do you measure that and what are the definition? I think that will need to be fundamentally changed. We have AI tool called one of the tool I would not name. It is a journey based, tenure based. So it's not a survey that happens, a lag survey after 2 years, 3 years, like employee satisfaction survey earlier days. If you know, it was you don't know because you have not gone through it. Earlier days, once in 2 years, we did employer survey. Now imagine if I do my employee survey in 2 years, that means in every survey, I have a new organization to survey because my attrition rate is 30-40% and more. So what is the, you see, that is how innovation in your vision statement, there is innovation. Okay, there is inquiry that you need to bring into your own self. This academic, cognitive, informative education is good, but unless you get that ethos in you, okay, this will not become super premium organization, institution. Anyway, I'm trying to connect to the point. So those definitions will also undergo change. So we do a real-time survey because nobody is waiting in the organization for more than 2 years. 70% of the people are wanting a job change or they are iterating in 2 years to 24 months, 2 years to 18 to 24 months. So why are you designing system for 10 years retention of an employee? You design something that you capture for today. The 2-year survey is gone. It is a real-time survey. Every day, the chance question, every week, probably a question goes to the employee. How are you feeling today? It's AI. There is a smiley or a flat face. You go and click here. Now there is a conversation, AI conversation start like Siri you have. So he says, what makes you feel good or what makes you feel bad today? And there is a culture that also is shaping up where people are openly coming up and talking. So HR today has to also create for experience for employees on board now. Allow them to speak their heart out. Unlike earlier days, if you speak something against your manager, that means your thing is gone. Today, we are encouraging people to speak and we are promoting people who speak the truth and don't mind speaking the truth in spite of it being harsh, bluntly. So that is what we are encouraging. That is what the definition of diversity for us. Even the definition of diversity have changed. Earlier, female diversity ratio kya hai baat karte the. Now there are multiple dimensions in the components in diversity we talk about. Okay, so alter the definitions. Then you will be able to see the future better. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, I just want to give a little HR perspective to this. So first of all, when you talk about the employee satisfaction survey, which is by default, it is the employees, right? In a gig economy, when you say these are people who are on contract or on what do you call employment with a particular time period of time. So at least in the context that I know of in the so-called services organizations, you would see that employees by definition would not be counted as those who are not on the contract basis, okay, or a contractual nature, right? So the contractual, if you're talking about even those people who are where we need to basically look into the satisfaction of those contractual workers, okay, so then I think it's largely based on the SLAs, right? It's SLA driven. So I only want to basically what do you call tighten the kind of understanding or the agreement with the contractor. Okay. And I may not necessarily give out a employee satisfaction survey extended to those people as well. So what I'm trying to make a difference here is there is an employee satisfaction survey which caters to a specific set of population, and there is a, you can call it the customer feedback, or a maybe you can call it the end customer feedback. Depends again the value chain of customers. You may have very different. Say for example, if you have a distribution chain, you would want to basically collect feedback in a typical retail format, maybe feedback from the distributors. So that's a different format. So I just want to differentiate. Employee satisfaction survey would have a very different meaning to it in a gig economy. So if you would typically look at the e-commerce companies, right? So you would have maybe a 20% of the people who are actually employees, and you would have 80% who are on contractual basis. So the definitions there could be a little different. And again, I'm not saying that the satisfaction of those distributors is not important. I'm saying it's viewed different.
Thank you. Maybe one question from there. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm Aniket Podar from PGP 2025. I have a question related to AI. Today, we were discussing that we have a lot of AI screening process or robot interviews, as we have mentioned earlier. So they're screening out some, potential candidates. But also we discussed with Ashish also, like saying that there is a Harvard study that says 88% of HRs and AIs are missing out on some good potential candidates. So how do we decide that thin line between, like, AI is not flexible, AI doesn't has that human touch. So how do we decide between that when AI is correctly rejecting a candidate, or it may be not flexible and rejecting some potential good candidates?
Yeah, AI, this is a biped technology animal, I would say. There is a part called ML also. If AI is sitting with ML, all this will get corrected. The accuracy, the predictability will be better. AI is only gathering one part of it, and where the algorithms are getting developed and accordingly you are capturing data. ML is something which has to mature along with that, which will recognize something which humanly unable to recognize those patterns, and therefore you require a huge data, big data we talk about. Unless there is a big data in billions, you will never have a perfected or a better improved algorithm. And what is an algorithm? Algorithm is an evaluation for which you have put a code. How to evaluate what you want to evaluate. So you are evaluating people here. So with reference to something, you are evaluating a variable that is a candidate. Correct? Now, what is sitting in the candidate's competencies, you are trying to extract that with a reference point of your organization set of competencies. Okay, first, have you set your competencies right is very important. Therefore, I said I am moved to fluidic intelligence. Okay, but I don't want to be left behind, so I'm using robotic interviews. Okay, whoever, there are AI engines we are using for real-time employee experience. Real-time employee experience is very important, because 2 years later, I do a survey, that person has left, to who I am catering to with the feedback or improvement that I do. Correct? I need to instantly give that experience to people, right? So that is required. Now, there will not be a perfect solution to it unless certain ecosystem also comes along with that. Today, we don't have data itself. What will you do with having this complete engine sitting with you? Have you created an organization, or have you created a need? Has it become a process for you where there are so many multiple fields of data that Amazon started 30 years back? It is delivering results now. They have been perfecting it for that much time, right? So it will happen. Fundamental, your YouTube has become a best way of learning tool today. But in 1990s, YouTube was there. But there was not, the bandwidth was not available. Your 4G was not there. So your YouTube being there was not useful because it requires us ecosystem support. So AI requires an ecosystem support that requires a huge big data and your ML engine working with, which will pick up and train the model continuously. And therefore the predictability will go, maturity of that will happen over a period of time. But don't wait. It is not working, so will not do, because then you will be left behind. NASA have not placed on the placed a satellite yet onto the South Pole, right? India has put. One of the WhatsApp I was reading on the flight yesterday. How many Indians are working in NASA and how many Americans are working in ISRO? Okay, they have the best of the system also. So the question here is, it's beyond technology. It is also purpose-driven research, and whatever limited technology, how do we deploy it better? That is also at the same time to be kept in mind, not over dependence on anything outside.
We only have time for one last question, I believe. But would any of you like to add to AI and where is it headed?
I only think that there seems to be a tendency to sort of feel victimized about AI. Okay, so honestly, any of the campus selections or recruitments is for recruitment to happen, to select few people, right? But how I would want to basically look at, from if I were the student, if I have to put myself in their shoes, I would think, am I basically projecting the right kind of information about myself, so that the tools, now there is a big usage of tools, right? So the tools to capture, right, my kind of a profile or the right kind of a profile, that data and information has to be there. Where it has to be there in the resumes, it has to be there in LinkedIn. Okay, so if that data is not there, for someone to feel victimized about, the screening is not being done, I'm not being shortlisted, so I don't think, that's a right argument. That's number one. Number two, AI is always, I don't think, at the most, at the kind of a campus selection level, it's only a screening level. When it says screening, so there probably a set of 5-6 questions that they would have, and it will typically say, do you meet these criteria? So only those meeting the criteria would be shortlisted. Assuming I'm talking about a very high level AI screening kind of a test which is being organized, okay, and there is a assessment that's been happening. Beyond that, there isn't anything called AI or anything which is a tool which is trying to not give you an opportunity to work with this employer. So that's
One last question. She's raised her hand earlier. Maybe we can talk after this as well and clarify. Yes. Could please pass the mic.
Good morning, esteemed panelists. As you all talked about how fluid intelligence and being agile to learning new things is very important in today's world. So is there a way to develop these characteristics, or if we already have these characteristics, is there a way to further these characteristics to make our candidature seem more appealing?
yes, it's always there, and that's what makes a big difference, right? So it may not necessarily come up at this stage of your career, if I can just take the relevance of campus recruitments, etc. But I think to the extent that you could basically talk about some of the behavioral aspects that you probably felt about yourself, right, or about what kind of your peer group is talking about you as your strengths, some of those things can basically be laid out in the resume itself, and then let there be a question around that, and let there be a discussion around that. So you can prompt the interviewer to sort of move into the direction that you would want them to be talking about, and therefore you get an opportunity to talk only because you mentioned those kind of strengths or skill sets or competencies in your resume?
How do I look at a profile? I mean, you want to know a user experience because your profile I'm consuming, and you want to know how is my algorithm working on consumption. So what do I look at in a CV first? I look at, because certain things, situations in life of an individual build certain kind of maturity or certain kind of traits development into an individual. And that is what I look forward to. So what do I look at it? Candidate has got some diverse exposure, because the future is all about, there is no verticalization of roles or jobs. It could be any job. I see entrepreneurial mindset, has done, I look at volunteering exercises, assignments done. So they do volunteering for some social work, etc. And I assess that they were genuine or not when I interview that candidate. Okay. And a lot of people fake. So please don't fake it. Please do it. Okay. A recent incident that happened in my daughter's case. She is in 11th in an international board. She said, Dad, I'm going for this weekend. We are going. Can you drop me there to one outskirts of Mumbai? So I said, why? So we are going to an underprivileged school. And she took a lot of pride in saying, we are going and doing this work there. And she came back, and so she went through the school bus and etc. And she came and showed me the pictures and putting on Insta. I asked her, so what did you do? They gave some name to it. No, this is required for us, because then we have to put this on my profile. I said, if I know that you are coming to be interviewed by me, I will reject you first. Because you are faking it. Nothing wrong with faking it, but until you make it, you should fake it. And once you make it, it's your own self. Then I started one thing with her. I started taking her to the street dogs in one place, and we started feeding the dogs. I said, because that is an activity she wanted to showcase only on Insta. He said, you now do it. I'll take you a real picture. And I put it there. And in 15 days time, 10 times we went there. I have pics on my mobile as well. She has completely transformed. She likes, now she gets up herself early in the morning. I don't have to put an alarm, nudge her to get up. She said, oh, I'll miss the dogs and I have to go to school. Now she has developed a connect with the dogs. And it has altered her behavior. And she has become more sensible as a human being. So don't do anything to fake, because we will make it out. When you come there, the only chance is you got a chance to be interviewed that much by faking. But then, but do those faking is important till you make it, right? So whatever you put on your profile, ensure that you have an immersive learning about it. If you're doing on social work, I look at that. I look at a trade, because we want high touch. People who are inclusive in behavior. In nuclear family system, people have not learned the art of sharing. In our earlier, natural sharing was natural. And in organization today, we are talking about collaboration as a competency. How do I see that collaboration as a competency? I look at from the, how much work have you done outside the space of your area?
I think
in
we'll
your-
have to
Yeah.
give them the opportunity. The next
So-
panel is coming up. Yeah.
So that is my personal request to you. Make your profile attractive. Don't over fake it. It's good to get selected, but don't get rejected for being inauthentic. Okay, thank you.
That was one insightful discussion. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our panel members for their valuable insights on the topic and for sharing with us their enriching experiences.
I now request Professor Ritu Gupta and Professor Rashmi Shukla to felicitate the panelists with a memento and a certificate, thanking them for gracing us with their presence in this HR Summit. Shri Ashish Chandolia. Shri Kunal Chaudhary. Shri Ravindra K. Shri Yogesh R. Bashol.
My spelling is Basole. So somewhere Bruce Lee was my relative. So use that in the end of my soul. So Bruce Lee.
I would now request Professor Satya Sibadas to please felicitate the moderator, Professor Ritu Gupta. We request all the panelists to gather for a photograph. Thank you. We will now break for high tea. We request the dignitaries to proceed to the Iyer Lounge, ground floor of Gyanshila. We request the students to remain seated till the dignitaries leave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So don't mind. The nice name, no? Bruce Lee. Yogesh Bruce Lee. Sure.
We would now request everybody to gather for a photograph. We would request Shri Girish Pahadia to please gather for the photograph. Ashish sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.